Now let's look at the law of seed, time, and harvest. The entire universe operates under this principle of seed, time, and harvest. Everything God does, everything He taught us, everything we say, everything we do, everywhere we go, it's all based on seed, time, and harvest. So why would prophecy be any different? Well, it's not. Now, in order for anybody to have a harvest, they have to first plant a seed. So, what has to happen is humans have to die. They become a seed. Over time, they resurrect and they become the harvest. So how does this coincide with a rapture where people are taken alive? Okay, well, there are two things you need to know about this harvest in order to answer that question. First thing you need to know is, once a person leaves the earth, they become dead to the people here on the earth. It doesn't matter if they leave alive or if they leave dead. Once they leave the earth, they are considered dead to the people on the earth. So anybody who gets raptured is taken off the earth. They are considered dead to anyone who's still here. So a person who gets raptured is still considered a seed. But those who get raptured are also a harvest. Let me show you these harvest cycles. Now, Ezekiel talked about a wheel within a wheel. We are a harvest within a harvest within a harvest. Why is that? Well, it's because God is a Trinity. He's not a duet. He's not a single. He is a Trinity. We have Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. There is a 7,000-year plan. This is the overall plan for everything. Alright, we have a 7-year plan where this becomes the time of Jacob's trouble. And then we have a 7-day plan. Okay, so we have 7 days, 7 years, 7,000 years, or 7 millennium. Okay, this equates to the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Let's take this one first. If you look at the overall 7,000-year plan, Jesus resurrected right here before the 2,000 years began. He became the first fruits of everyone who slept. Okay? Now, even though we have a 7-year period with 4 different raptures, everybody who gets resurrected here becomes the main harvest in the 7,000-year plan. Everyone who gets resurrected after the millennial reign of Christ become the gleanings. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you can go back and watch the video where I taught the 3 different harvest cycles. The first fruits, main harvest, and gleaning. Jesus is barley. This entire thing becomes the wheat, and these become the grapes. Now, when you get down to the 7-year plan, things are a little bit different. The 7-year plan still has Jesus as the first fruits of all that slept, but you have the Gentile bride who's also the first fruits, but she's the first fruits of the wheat. The Jewish bride is the first fruits of the grapes. These two make up the first fruits. You come over here, you have your martyred saints. These become your main harvest. And then you have your elect who become your gleanings. Okay? Now, when you get down to the 7-day harvest cycles, it looks even more different than the other two. Okay? We have to take the 7-day cycle and we have to divide it up into 7 days. And what you're going to see are the 7 feast days, where Passover is the first day. This is your bride or your first fruits. Your Pentecost, being on the 4th day, represents your main harvest, being your, they represent the martyred saints. And then the last group, being tabernacles, are your gleanings. They represent the group of the elect. Now, what this represents in total is the 7-day Jewish feast, the ancient Jewish feast I was telling you about, where the bride is taken first, okay? Then all the wedding guests are assembled somewhere else. And then on the last day, the poor and needy are gathered and allowed to come and eat everything that was left over from the wedding reception, okay? All right, so in terms of the 7-day wedding cycle, you're going to have, the whole thing is called the bride of Christ, the Gentile bride. But you're going to have a first fruits, a main harvest, and a gleaning. Within the 7-year cycle, the bride becomes the first fruits. The main harvest, the martyred saints become the main harvest. And the elect become the gleaning. And within the 7,000-year harvest cycles, Jesus is the first fruits. Everyone he gathers within the 7-year tribulation period becomes the main harvest. And everyone who's gathered after the millennial reign becomes the gleanings. A harvest within a harvest within a harvest. So, as far as the 7-day plan goes, we have to be planted as a seed first before we can be harvested. Same thing with the 7-year and the 7,000 years. Okay? That would mean that we have to be considered dead to the people who are still here before we can even be harvested off the earth. Does that mean we have to physically die? No, and I'm going to show you how, okay? So it basically means we have to be taken before we are taken, and I'm going to show you how that works. Now, as far as the overall 7-year plan is concerned, once we are taken off of the earth, we become a seed to future generations. In other words, those who died before us, that have already died over the last 2,000 years, they became the seeds to spread the gospel for us today. So if we're taken today, we become the harvest of these seeds right here. But once we get taken, we also become seeds for a future harvest after the millennial reign. When they get resurrected after the millennial reign, they will become the harvest to us, to our seeds that we're planting when we leave. So as far as the 7,000-year plan goes, Jesus was slain from the foundations of the world. So basically that right there makes him, a seed. Okay? And then after that seed, he became the first fruits harvest. We become the main harvest. And then after the millennial reign, they become the gleanings. So before we put all this together here in a little bit, just a quick recap for the 7-year harvest plan. Jesus is the first fruits of everyone who slept. Barley comes before wheat, and wheat comes before grapes. Those are the 3 main crops that Jesus referred to. Those are the 3 main crops that are grown in Israel as well. Okay? The Gentile bride becomes the main harvest to the barley, but the first fruits of the wheat. The Jewish bride becomes the gleaning of the barley, the main harvest of the wheat, but the first fruits of the grapes. The martyred saints become the gleaning of the wheat, but the main harvest of the grapes, and the elect will be the gleaning of the grapes.